Audrey Arbeeny. She participated in the very first episode of The Voice Den, one of the very first 5 Voicefluencers, and I'm so thrilled she's going to be joining us at the party edition of The Voice Den, November 14th. And today, we get to chat with her live here on the Voicefluencer Show. So without any further ado, let's bring on Audrey. Audrey, how's it going?
Here I am. It's going great. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yay! Hi, Ian.
Yay!
And Ian, our co-host
Hi,
here is as
Teri.
well.
Great to see you.
Oh, this is like a big
Here I am at the
celebration.
treehouse.
Great to see you too. We'll have our own voice den. That's it.
That's it, right here. This is
That's
it.
great.
Private voice den.
This is it right here. Except that, like, anybody that is on Twitter, LinkedIn, where else? Periscope,
Yeah.
Attention Live. just a couple of people listening in, but otherwise it's private.
That's okay.
But just our closest friends.
That's right. Just the
Of
closest friends.
course. Of course.
Audrey, it's so great to see you again. Tell us.
You too.
We need to first of all get you to introduce yourself. So for those that are watching, who are you?
Sometimes I wonder, but today I am the CEO, founder, executive producer of Audiobrain. We specialize in sonic branding. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've had Audiobrain for 18 years, which I can't believe. And we're based in New York City, and we do tons of sonic branding. That's all we do, but we do it for every industry, and we do it across many touch points. Voice, we build music servers and work in different countries and integrate sound, but it's all sonic branding, which is the strategic and creative development and deployment of a consistent narrative for a brand, and then making sure that every sonic asset, music, sound, voice, vibration, is consistent and authentic to that brand.
That's amazing. I love that. Music, voice, sound, and vibration, I think was the last one you said.
Yep.
I think when the average person thinks of sonic branding, they think of like a logo, a jingle, and like that's all there is to it. And I mean, just the fact that you even think about vibration, I mean, there's so much more to it than that. Can you explain a little bit about those different elements and how those come together to create a brand?
Well, I started out when I thought I would be a music therapist. I've studied music since I was either 3 or 4, more to get me to sit still than anything else. I don't know how much I learned at 3 or 4 or 5, but then as I started to evolve, I took flute and I took voice at Carnegie Hall, and I was the only rock student in Carnegie Hall. And I thought I wanted to be a music therapist, and I worked with kids that were deaf and blind. And so I would put their feet on speakers. Okay. They were they were wards of the state. They were in a state hospital. So I would then track their behavior after this music therapy through vibration, and what their behavioral differences when they went back to where they lived. And so vibration comes in there because we're a vibratory system, and that's often the way that we sense music. Or if you have something like when people are developing the eyewears and anything that's close to peripheral of the head, it goes through, the sound goes through your bone conduction. I had done a prototype for Sony, like, I'm not kidding, it had to be at least 20 years ago, where you would navigate through a city. It was being designed for people that were blind before, we had all these little personal GPS devices, so maybe 25 years ago or so. And I said to them, well, what about somebody who's blind and deaf? So we did this thing where we put conduction of vibration here. So these are all elements that kind of create the biological sonic system. Music, obviously, we know what that is. I separate music and sound because they all are sound. They all relate to sound. Voice is sound. Music is sound. Vibration is waves that just, transmitting directly into you. So that's what they are. They're all part of the same little universe that we're wired really well for.
And hearing you speak about it, like, you've got so much experience. People that know you know that, and people that maybe don't know you as well, I think they should know the experience that you've had. So I know you're very modest and you wouldn't do this otherwise, but everybody should know that we are speaking with an Emmy Award winner, 2-time, right here. And can you just share with us like some of the projects and some of the brands that you have worked with, because it is an extremely impressive list.
Okay. So the ones I can talk about, because there are a few that we can't even mention because they are so high profile and what we do is so high profile, we can't discuss them. But we've worked with Microsoft. We created the sonic branding for the Xbox 360. And I really love when it comes up on a lot of people's favorite lists of iconic sound logos, but it was more than that. It was the whole system. It was everything that integrated into it, their event, their executives walking to the stage, into their specials when it was launched, the Killers playing their launch party. I mean, it was like a whole sonic branding initiative. We've been music supervisors. I've been music supervisor for NBC Olympics for 9 different Olympics. So that's not 9 years. That's 9 Olympics, and Tokyo would have made number 10. Mm-hmm. So we're a little postponed. IBM, Google, which is hard to think off the top of your head like that. Holland America line, we've done every single thing from their onboard ship experiences, original composition, voice branding, casting voices in many different languages. We've done Logitech speakers. We've done all of the Ultimate Ears. We've done Jaybird. We're working on 4 right now, 4 different initiatives with them. We've done Whirlpool and KitchenAid appliances, which both Jaybird and Whirlpool, they're pretty award-winning. Whirlpool got a lot of press. There's a lot of people are interested in those sounds in those products. And we also do different things in the science community. I teach sonic branding I've taught at Pratt School of Visual Arts Masters in Branding program. I mentor in 1 semester, and I do the master class another semester, and we're about to start with FIT here in New York.
Cool. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with Audrey. Amazing. You're truly amazing.
It's so hard to name your clients, or like someone's asking you, because there's just so many of them after all these years that I'm like, okay, and why didn't I mention that one and that one?
I know. Somebody's gonna call you up, be like, why didn't you mention me on that? But I know what it's like. It's hard to remember off the top of your head. Ian, hearing all that, I don't know what comes to mind for you. What are your thoughts?
Wait, one more. I gotta get 2 more in there.
Okay, 2 more.
I have to say the New York Giants. So we do a lot of work in sports branding as well. That's a really big one. And then we also have done many things in education for like Scholastic. So the fields and the industries that we work in are incredibly diverse. And we've sonically branded a host or 2 here and there in recent months.
You have. And yeah, I want to talk about that with you as well. I just want to get Ian in here. Ian, like, questions, comments, thoughts? What are you thinking?
I want to make it super practical because I so believe in you have done something that so many people desire to do, which is to combine their passion, their destiny, their purpose with their ability to make an income and with their ability to be an artist. Like you've done what so few artists and so few business people can do, which is to be true to yourself as an artist, to be true to yourself in terms of like sonic branding is basically a vocation that allowed you to be an artist and provide all this emotional benefit to and through your clients. So first of all, I just want people to understand that are watching this live or watch the archive that you are somebody that they can look up to and that they can follow because you have done this effectively for a very long time. Now, after I've said that statement, which I wholeheartedly believe, let me ask you something practically.
Sure.
I think there's a big difference between a prospect coming to you with a $10,000 budget and $1 million budget. And I would assume that $10,000 budget is probably low to standard, of a very quick project, where $1 million budget would be a very complex, very long term, where you'd spend a lot of time just on strategy and ideation. Can you just walk through for a moment, if people are looking to do sonic branding and they come to you budget first, and they come to you lean budget, or a full, really respectful and honorable budget, thinking of sonic branding in the way that you'd like them to, in terms of all their different pieces that could come to the table, how would you approach a client that's saying, hey, we're all in and we've budgeted a massive investment into this, or hey, we're looking at every single dollar and we got to keep it as tight and as lean as we possibly can, how we just get the job done? Can you talk about those two approaches? I think it's very, very practical. I think there's people watching right now, or that will watch the archive, will be interested in what you and Audio Brain could do for them and their organization. They may not even understand the budgetary approach and how you then would respond to that scenario.
Right. I'm going to give you a third scenario. I'm going to give you like 3 different levels. So sometimes people come to us and they want to do sonic branding, and they really don't have they don't have budgets. Like their budgets are so tight. So what we do is we take a look at, we have to be realistic, but we want to make sure that we get them something very viable. So whereas if we're doing something for Kia, right, or something that's a very large global brand, our competitive research is enormous. If you're doing something for McDonald's, you're going to do something that is an extremely extensive research end. If you're doing something for a more limited budget, we are going to do research. We're going to pick their top 3 competitors and we're going to do a snapshot. So we'll see, do they have a sound logo? Do they have anything that's really standing out as a sound that they own? Those are 2 entirely different approaches that take a difference of many, many months. Okay. We're going to sit with the person and we're going to say, what could you do realistically? Like we're going to look at where they need the most impact. And for them, it is usually a sound logo. So, but before we do it, we're going to do the same process on finding out what their attributes are, what's true to them, what their brand characteristics are. We're not just going to shortcut that. We can't shortcut that. We have to know that, whether we're doing it for pro bono, whether we're doing it for $10,000, whether we're doing it for $50,000, or we're doing it for $1 million. We have to understand the essence of that brand, or we're not going to do it. So there's many times where we'll do it where we go a little overboard in our deliverables because it's important to us to get it right. So that's where we're going to put our efforts in. Once we have that, the idea there is that we will create certain assets and create a certain point of view, certain instruments, certain things that speak directly to that person. Then that person can take what we give them. They can then have an idea, if they have to work with stock music, what they're looking for, what the right feeling is. They can run it by us. We have one client that it was like every single year. I'm going to tell you this story really quick because I know we're not going to be on for long. Okay. 2 clients. All right. One of them is Microsoft, and we're doing the Xbox 360. And the other one is First Advantage Federal Credit Union, and they're in like Virginia. Okay. They have 10 branches and they have very limited budgets. So we decided what would be most impactful for them. And in their case, it was what was played in the environments of their branches. We threw in a sound logo just because. And we put messaging in that music as people heard it. But it wasn't it was not typical of what you would think you would hear in a credit union. Now, make a long story short, it was so successful. They had their people vote on which sound logo they wanted. People were calling up and they wanted those playlists that were playing in those branches. Then the next year they came back and we'd put like a prize. So when you walked in the bank, if you were like the 300th customer, you know, it played the sound logo when the doors opened. Then the next thing they did, so each time they had these little budgets, they added little things. So long story short, I spoke at a conference. They asked me to bring clients. I brought Microsoft and I brought Jim from First Advantage Federal Credit Union. And after the conference, so there's me, there's Microsoft executive producer, there's Jim, okay, Jim Craig, love him. And after after we spoke, all these people gravitated to Jim because he was the one that the majority of the audience had the similar budgets and struggled with the similar needs. And he did it and he won awards for it. So I thought that was incredibly interesting because I really did think that they were all going to go to my Microsoft client or me.
That's really interesting. And I can speak about, sorry to interrupt. I mean, I can speak about this process too, because I have had the privilege and the pleasure of working with
it was fun.
Audrey to create basically my sonic branding across the board, whether it's from my podcast, my flash briefing, the Voice Den, the Voicefluencer Show, and everything. So thank you. Whenever I get a chance, I always like to mention that. It's amazing. So I know you actually wanted to bring that up. I did. I'm so thankful for that. Was there anything in particular that you wanted to highlight? I mean, I'm happy to talk about the process with you and that sort of stuff. What did you want to talk about with regards to that? I mean, it's so much fun.
What I wanted to talk about, because I want to give the audience out there a real understanding of what we look for.
Sure.
So you are the perfect model to explain what I'm about to explain.
Great.
So because in your sonic branding, you have, I do this with my class. I'm like, I want you to bring in a sound that, like, think of yourself as a sound, what you sound like when people think of you. When the phone rings, they hear the sound, represents you. When they think of you, the sound comes in their head, they think of you. It suits your personality. And my students will never come in with one song. They come in with 3. They come in with 5. Because there's this side of their personality, but then there's this side of their personality. And then there's this other side of their personality. And when you put that all together, that creates your unique sonic branding. That's the difference between doing things as a one-off. And Teri is a perfect example to illustrate with, because he's very positive, very optimistic, very upbeat. He's got a lot of integrity. There's that fun side. Everybody knows that. Then there's a side that's got a lot of integrity, a lot of credibility, a lot of professionalism. Then there's that technical side, completely technically advanced, thought leader, very forward into his way of thinking about things, even in this field of just how to leverage it out. So there's that whole voice technology side, that whole technology in general side. And then there's the health advocate, the doctor, the instructor, all of that, the wellness, and the things that you do in that arena. Now, those are 4 different things. Those things each have sounds represented with them. And if you put them together, that makes Teri's sound. And Teri's sound would not work for me. And my sound would not work for Ian.
Right.
Because it's like getting a custom pair of shoes.
But what if I was willing to go to therapy and become more like you? Like, could I become more like you to where your sound could be my sound?
Okay. First of all, I don't think you're as loud as I am. Okay. That's number
You'd
one.
be surprised.
And as talkative and animated
I'm
as
just
I
kidding.
am.
I was just trying to make you laugh. Keep going.
I laugh at anything. People always tell me, will you sit still? Why are you always so like, I'm like, because it excites me. What can I tell you?
Don't interrupt her, Ian. She was talking about me. Okay.
I
have
know,
to give her. I
I
have to
know,
give her
I
the
know.
check afterwards.
It's
The check.
all about
All right, all
Teri.
right, Ian, back to me. Enough about you. Let's get back to me.
What I do want to say is, because the process when you came to me and you asked me for like, what do you like, and there was a whole sort of board that had characteristics, and you asked me, and you did your own research with your team, looking at what I have out there on social media, and you identified the characteristics of me that you thought represent me, and then we went back and there was a process, and I know that's how you do things with your clients.
Right. And I think, and I say this all the time, I have people in my family that are in the medical community, and they'll be all stressed out. And I'll be like, I'm so stressed out from today too. And they'll be like, what are you stressed out from? You do music. You don't save lives. You don't take care of patients. You make music. But it really is a business, and it really is a methodology. We are extremely research driven. We delve deep. We went through every single thing where we could hear where Teri spoke, what Teri's messaging was, what other people were saying, what his materials were. And we don't do it different every single time. We have a very formidable methodology that we've honed over the years. We have our own set of proprietary tools. We have some trademark tools that we work with to keep, to do the evaluation. Is it relevant? Is it extendable? Is it sustainable? Is it flexible? Is it hitting these attributes? When we work with our clients, we put the words in front of them, Teri, as you know. We don't want to know that you like that sound. We want to know, are you hearing, are you hearing health advocate in these certain types of sounds?
Yeah.
So that was a hard one to get people to focus on the words, but we built tools to keep people on track. So it is a business. It's just, we had to develop things to get us to that end creative, and we had to make them fun enough so that non-musical people were not intimidated. We don't want them to tell us that, the B flat minor is my key, or what. It's
right.
It's like something. And there's always, in a big group, there's always the musician. There's always one in every crowd. There was one in my crowd with Teri.
What's amazing is that you would even really subtle things. If people really know me, they would be able to pick up little subtle things that are in my sonic branding. Like, for example, I remember telling you, and you know this, I'm a drummer, so I like drums. So there definitely is drums in my sonic branding. I liked more, because of that, I like interesting rhythms. So there's a lot of interesting rhythms and syncopation in the sonic branding. And all of these sort of things that really make it really personalized. If you want, I can actually play a couple of samples of things that you've got. I've got them ready, and I can just sort of set them up with, this is how I use this now, and hopefully the audience can hear it a little bit. Maybe you can comment on it as well. Audrey, should we do a couple?
I'll try.
Okay, I'll set it up too.
I want you to comment about which of them are hitting what you felt, why that was resonating with you.
Sure. So this is
that I've set up what you are.
Perfect. So I'm just gonna play a few seconds of these. This is the opening theme for the Voice Den, and so it takes the running theme of my sonic branding. But when we did this, I remember talking to you about creating something that had a more, we sort of highlight the fun in it, because the Voice Den was like a TV show type experience. So I'll just play a little bit of that here for everybody.
I want to go to a party now.
So that was the theme, and it's definitely got that upbeat kind of feel to it.
Yep. It does.
Which I love. And then the outro for it, when I run the credits, it was a different take on the similar theme. Again, an upbeat, sort of fun piece of music, but a little bit different. So this is the outro. And then taking on that, just to display one more thing. So now for the Voicefluencer Show, which is become an offshoot of the Voice Den, it's the same type of branding with a different introduction. So I'll play that. So there's
And
that
what, yeah.
go ahead,
Okay.
go ahead, go ahead. You know, I'd love to hear your comments.
One thing to notice about that is the voicefluencer, right? If you notice, that's scaled down because there's less people. We're more intimate. There's 2 to 3 of us on at any given time. So there's either Ian and someone, you and someone, or the 3.
Right.
It's not as big. So remember that when you're doing your brand, is that sometimes you want to scale. That's when I talk about scalable. Sometimes if we're doing something for a big arena, it's going to sound different than if we're doing an intimate piece, a one-on-one conversation, a video bookend that's one person is going to talk. You know, that's a good example of scaling.
Yeah, and exactly. And then some other, I mean, and then when you do the sonic branding, I should just highlight, like, there's other pieces to it, as you said. It's not just that big intro piece, but you've created these, I'm not sure what the technical term is, what you call them, but they're loops that I could play while I'm speaking, but they're still on brand. So for example, and there's 2 different ones of those. So there's a little bit more upbeat one, a little bit more mellow one. And if I play the little more upbeat one, so, you know, I could be setting something up and talking, and this loop is going behind what I'm saying, but it's still very on brand. And then there's a more mellow one as well. It's still got that brand, but I could be talking about something and setting up something. I love it. It's just, it's, and Gina, who I know is a regular on the Voice Den as well. I want to bring this in, and she makes a very interesting comment. I'd love to get your comments on this, Audrey. She says, "Are you liking the music, or are you hearing your brand?" And, you know, in this case, I'm hearing my brand. Thoughts on that?
Exactly when I said about the mood board, and she and I go back and forth all the time. Just we're in good communication a lot of the time, and on the same page. And we both, she did her Women in Voice already, and I'm going to be doing mine on November 20th. But she's right. It's like, yeah, you could like it or not like it, but if you like it, that's one thing. But do you feel it? That it's yours? Does it feel like you? There's so much sound that I like. I don't even want to get into it, but like, it would never be the right sound for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no, it's amazing. It's amazing.
and she's spot on that. That's exactly the point. Yeah. People put things. I had a group recently, and we're working with them, and they said, maybe we need to expand this out further to some other teams in here and have them bring in their three videos that they think they have their best music on. Now, they've never done branding. So they're just going to bring in 3 videos that have music that they liked, that they did a good score on. Well, we listen to them. They're not connected in any way, shape, or form between themselves or between the rest of the organization. So I try to tell people this all the time. Don't look at the words. Look what the brand stands for. That's why we put them up on the wall, because we were getting such, music is so subjective. You can't help. You can't get that totally out of the equation. So you have to do all that you can to get people to focus on the brand and not necessarily their personal choices. However, if you were to take a certain type of music, and I would do this a lot with different Olympic athletes. When I would talk with them, some of them, I want to know what they were listening to before they were getting ready to compete, because then I kind of had an idea what they felt, what they felt like, and then if I got to do a feature and make some recommendations for them, I would often put in something that I was an artist or some type of music that I knew they liked, and occasionally 1 or 2 would say to me, "Thank you." It was like nobody else would get it, but they did get it.
Amazing. Whoa, so much good stuff. Ian, thoughts? Other questions? Comments?
Well, I mean, I could ask questions forever, but let me ask a futuristic question that might be fun for you to contemplate and give us an answer on.
Okay.
I believe that the desire and need for sonic branding will escalate at a rapid rate over the next decade or so. And I could be wrong, but I do believe that. I believe that because voice interfaces let blind people and people that can't read and write engage with technology and become content creators in a way they couldn't, because these voice technology devices are able to hear and communicate in multiple languages. It means that people that never had access to be a content creator will be able to be a content creator in the near future. Therefore, I think that the need for personal sonic branding, individual sonic branding, will escalate if there is a ability for people to get sonic branding done in a reasonable time frame and budgetary frame. If there was an application or a platform, right? So if Apple wanted to have sonic branding done for every single app in the App Store, or if Instagram, one of the apps in the App Store, wanted sonic branding done for every single Instagram content creator, how might that be tackled to do sonic branding at scale for millions, tens of millions, or hundreds of millions of people? And I'm not talking about today, but I mean, how about you envision that happening where people have a button in their application or in their platform where it says, do you want sonic branding? And they can actually go through the process of doing something around sonic branding. I imagine there's some automation done today that's probably not very good, but if the wind is in the sails, and if technology provides an opportunity for a massive amount of people to do personal branding, sonic branding in the distant future, 5, 10, 15 plus years out, how might you imagine that manifesting? Because I imagine for you, this is a very unique thought about the future of technology, where you imagine that a unlimited number of people all of a sudden want sonic branding because they all of a sudden became content creators, because the bar has dropped for people to create content. You know, there's a million podcasters today, as an example, right? 30 million podcasts have been posted out there in the ether. So that's my question. It's about the future of sonic branding and the ability for sonic branding to be done for the masses amount of people that may want it.
That's a challenging question, and I'll tell you why. Where you know, there's always a tension point, and for me, the tension point in there is like there's 30 million podcasts, and then how many of them do I hear that like hurt my head because they're not done properly? There's hundreds more sonic branding firms now. And how many of them hurt my head because they're making a lot of noise. We don't make noise. So you can have the equation of, sure, you could probably do it right. There are people saying they're doing it right now. They have certain things, you put in certain characteristics, you put in certain information, and it will generate out the sound that you. But where I kind of have my reservations there is that it's going to have to be super intuitive. It's going to have to be able to read the emotional side. It really is, because if I say one characteristic and you say the same characteristic, is it going to then generate out that same sound? Where is it going to get? It could get data. Where is it going to get the emotion from? So once we get more and the conversational, Teri, you talk about this quite a bit when you say to your son, how was your day at school? It was okay.
Right.
It was okay. You know, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that has to still be developed to get us to that point. It's going to happen iteratively.
Yeah.
And before you know it, just like voice assistants and proprietary voice assistants that people are coming up with, where now, you know, like a few years ago, it was like a dream to think that you could have your own customized voice that easily. I mean, it was a pretty intricate process.
Right.
And now it's happening. But there was steps that had to go along the way. So I could see it happening. but it's going to be interesting to see how it gets there, because there's so many factors. You know, my dependable sounds different than my composer's dependable, and you don't even know he's inside working. You know, it's so many variables that are going to have to get considered. So it's just going to have to, but then again, it could get there. We get calls sometimes now from like super wealthy individuals who want sounds within their home to be customized, you know, for themselves. So, but that's a pretty elaborate process, but that's kind of what you're talking about. We're just doing it on the level that we do it now. In the future, you know, you could probably look at something and it could, you know, generate a sound for you. Who knows?
Right.
It sounds to me like right now, it's a very interesting question, Ian. It sounds to me like the work that you do right now, just by the nature of being able to interpret these emotions and all the creativity goes into it, sounds like right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like it's easily scalable. Like you can't allocate that job. You can't assign that job to a machine currently, because maybe the AI isn't there enough to be able to know how to interpret what you were saying, like what does happy mean to me versus somebody else, and how does that then come out in the music? Is that because you're simply choosing a major key, or is it because you like the sound of a flute? Like there are so many different ways that can be interpreted, and it gets back to what you were saying, Audrey. Like if my son says school is fine, or school's fine, and there's so much that goes into the emotion of the voice. So I can see it happening in the future as well. But boy, it's a big one. It's a tough one. Yeah.
But then again, I could think of so many things that when I first heard about them, I thought were impossible. It would never happen.
Right.
And I'm not a pessimistic person. You know that, Teri. It's like,
if anything, like, you're not pessimistic. I'll say that.
I will take on jobs and say, yeah, okay, great. And then I'll turn around and I know what they want us to achieve. And then I say to my guys, okay, how are we going to do this? And that's the analogy for my apartment. My apartment, I have a view of the Empire State Building. Okay. Awesome. But I only get to see the spire. I don't see the whole building. I just can see the spire where the colors change and everything else. And that's the perfect analogy for my life. If I could see where I have to get to the top, we'll figure out how to get there. Yeah. I mean, but we've taken on projects that were just like, oh my God. But they do get there. And this is going to be one of those, oh, really? Oh, wow. And it's going to be pretty involved, but I don't see it as being impossible. I just see it as being more factors involved that people are going to have to consider. And they already are reading emotions in patients, you know, and they can take the way their tone of voice is on a certain day and assess whether they're well or sound a little sick. There's so much that's going on at such lightning speed that it'll probably get there.
I mean, I just wonder if a company like Apple or Google or Amazon find it to be reasonable to try and create this technology over the next decade, because they would believe their users would find so much more value in being on their platform because they created the sonic branding for all these users. And there's, again, this is not like a today thing or even this next couple year thing, but over time, I think it's a very interesting idea. So maybe something that we'll talk about in the future, you know, because it's something that's on my mind, being that we've built a platform for sonic streaming and we built an application at Attention Live for live podcasting. We believe that in an ideal scenario, we'll have tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users, billions of users using our software in the next several decades. And we'd love for there to be an ability for people just to automatically create sonic branding using some machine learning, artificial intelligence, and direction from you and people that are your peers in your industry. So anyway, that's why it came to mind, because it's very personal to me in terms of I see it as a major need. And I wonder if one of these huge corporations that's a platform company with 1 billion+ users might find the value in creating that ability for their users.
Wonderful.
Well, I think it could come from somebody who's not that kind of person. I think it could come from somebody that just has a fantastic idea, and is like wildly out there and crafts something. I mean, there've been some things that are just pretty phenomenal that have come up just because the right mind was in the right place at the right time and got it started. Now, might they buy them or partner with them? Who knows? I mean, I could see it happening. I just think that it's so specified, but so is so many other things,
Yeah, it's good.
Amazing, Audrey. So I know that you are getting more and more busy with the way things are going, and I want to be respectful of your time as well. So I want to kind of wrap up here, but I'd love for you to tell everybody, actually 2 questions. I'm asking everybody this on the show. The first question is, I'm really thankful you're going to be on the party episode with us as one of the Voicefluencers, which is going to be fantastic. And I'd love for you to tell us what questions you would like to get from the audience. So what are the things that you would like to be able to speak about, and what is your sort of sweet spot? That's the first part. And then the second part is I just want you to be able to share with us where everybody can go to learn more about what you're doing and follow along with what you're doing.
Okay. So questions that I would like to have. That's kind of hard. There's so many of them because different people have different questions. You know what I mean? So I'd really rather it just come from them. I've told them already what sonic branding is about. I've told them, I'd go through all the different places. I wish we put this big grid up of you would never believe till you really start to think about it, all the places that sound goes. And so I just would like to leave it open to whatever they're interested in. And voice, I really would like to talk about when people use voice within products and when people use voice on a global level, because that's an area that is could get a little tricky, because even the biggest developers of all, there's so many different languages and so many different dialects of those languages that it's almost an impossible thing for anybody to wrestle that they're going to tackle every language in the world. So, that's kind of a little tricky area. So just to get a little bit into voice, because we are talking about voice, that's a big challenge. And where people could reach me, you could go to Audrey Arbeeny on LinkedIn, or you could go to AudioBrain on LinkedIn, or you could go to AudioBrain_MY on Twitter and Instagram, or go to our website, and it's audiobrain.com. And on there, you just hit info@audiobrain.com, and you can send us an email directly.
Wonderful.
Not giving out the phone number though.
You never know what'll happen with that. No, that's
that
wonderful.
Gets crazy, because then that doesn't stop.
No, Audrey, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys
for being a part of this show. It's just so obvious when you speak. You are truly an expert, a world leader in this. And for people that are looking to get their sonic branding done, there's no other place to go. Like Ian. Like Ian. Ian's going to be a client. I think Ian's asking the questions. He wants in on the audio brain.
Let's just clarify. I want you to do my sonic branding. I want you to do sonic branding for our company. And the thing I brought up to you is a real desire that what would it look like for us to have a multi-year vision of working together to create sonic branding for all the content creators that leverage our technology at Attention Live. So I've mentioned to you before, I want to do sonic branding for Attention Live and for me personally. So it's just a matter of us setting a meeting so I can meet you and your team and talk about what does it actually look like for us to compensate you and your team to do that.
Amazing. We've got a business deal going on right here.
As everybody who knows me, I really do, like, everybody has hobbies, mine is research, like scientific research, any kind of research studies. Those are the ones that, we've done so much crazy stuff, but anything that hasn't been done already, I'd love to try.
Good.
There you go.
Well,
there you go.
Then you and I are on the same page.
There you go.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off. We'll play this last little bit of sonic branding, courtesy of Audrey Arbeeny and Audio Brain. And I look really forward to seeing you, Audrey, seeing you, Ian, at the party session of the Voice Den. So everybody knows it's Saturday night, November 14th. That's just about 2 weeks from this Saturday coming up when this is airing.
Maybe.
5 o'clock Pacific, 5 to 7. Going to be a big party, lots and lots of fun, and can't wait to see both of you there. And lots of people to ask lots of questions. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, guys.